What? What? No! He was like lagging out, walking in place. He turns and kills me.
All right, and this week we got the topic is going to be early online console gaming and our experiences with that. So yeah, I guess basically my first experience would be pretty big into the PS2. You get the network adapter and everything, and it's kind of a nuisance actually, but that would be where my first personal experience for multiplayer online gaming started. What about you guys?
I did go the PlayStation 2 route and get like the network adapter for my PS2 Fat, but not before I got Xbox Live. I was an early adopter. I bought Xbox Live back when you had to go get like a CD. I bought it on launch day. I went to Best Buy and bought my Xbox Live kit, and I don't know, it just was such a phenomenal, like, groundbreaking thing to me in like a console game system. Yeah, that was my first like endeavor into that, and I'll always remember it fondly.
So what was like your first game that you loaded up online?
So when you bought the kit, it came with the CD to install. You had to obviously sign up and create your username or whatever, and then it came with the headset and a demo for 2 games. Like, I didn't buy a game right away. I remember it was the same day that Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance came out for the Xbox also, which I think I picked up. But so I didn't buy another game that was online enabled, but it came with a sampler, and you got to play Whacked, which was like this weird like third person like mini game beat 'em up thing. It was stupid. But then it also came with MotoGP. And that was phenomenal. That was the one that I spent the vast majority of my time playing for the longest time. And yeah, MotoGP on the first day of Xbox Live was a great racer at the time that it came out. And it had like I just remember having like some weird online issues. Like, you could totally play the game, but like when you got in there with somebody that was like laggy, their motorcycle and their rider would just be like flopping up and down in the air like 20 feet over your head. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. Like, their place in the race was accurate, but like they wouldn't be on the ground. And then the cool thing with that was like, if you installed this, you had access to MotoGP online, but then you only got 3 tracks. Well, if you bought the game, it unlocked every track in the game, which you could then get around because rental stores still existed. So you just go to Blockbuster, which I did, and you'd rent MotoGP, play it on your system, and it would unlock the entire game for you. And you would not need to own it. So it was really cool. And I got really into that game and really competitive. And I don't know, it was just really cool to be part of like that community as it was growing. And like Xbox Live was still like technically impressive for the time, but it was pretty janky. But it was really cool. I just remember there was like it was like a pretty small community. So you'd see a lot of people the same day to day. And then there were a lot of UK people for some reason. I don't know what the crossover was with that. But yeah, it was just kind of neat. Like, I don't know. It was a really fun first experience. I mean, I know a racing game online sounds really lame now, but back then, like, that was cool. How about on the PS2, Justin? What did you first get into with that and the network adapter?
I guess, yeah, mainly, I think it was like early 2004 is when I finally decided to, I think it was 2004. Anyways, I decided to get the network adapter, and I got SOCOM 2, and a couple friends of mine and I would play that all the time. I remember many times you'd take, 3-4 days off from work just to sit home and play that game. At one point, you'd get into lobbies where it's like a full clan on the other side, and then they'd do like game battles and whatnot went on, and then they would send you a message every so often. If you went against a full clan, you could expect messages from them for tryouts. Just stuff like that. Pretty entertaining. I think that game, I probably spent the most time playing that game out of any game ever. Just the years put into that.
Well, I remember like SOCOM being like one of the first games that like really caught on competitively. Like, before MLG and all that stuff, like that was a pretty popular game. I mean, outside of PC, like I would say that was the next notable one, and then obviously Halo 2 once that launched. But yeah. My problem, like, because I bought the network adapter for the PS2 early on, also. I think the biggest problem back then that PS2 had going for it was like there was no centralized service like you had with Xbox. So like each developer or publisher had like a different thing you had to sign up for, and for each game, like it was such a pain in the ass. Like in your case, if you're just sticking to one game and that's your jam, like that's perfect. Like you don't have to worry about it. But like, God, it got so tedious. Like for every game, you had to create a new account, a new login, remember it. And F that.
Yeah. No, it got pretty bad because there was a couple other games I did play. I can't think of them offhand, but maybe Triple Play Baseball or something I played a couple times. But anyways, yeah, you had creating accounts and like you had to actually remember everything because it didn't save it for you.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I guess we should probably put it in comparison, like for people that weren't around and don't remember, like PS2, you bought the network adapter in the game, it was absolutely free. To play online for anything. Xbox, I think, had a little bit of a... It's accepted now, but like Xbox Live, I think, launched at like $60. Like, it was $60 per year to be able to play online games. So, a little bit I got what you paid for in terms of... I have a single service I sign into, but like the PS2 and having that be free to anyone who bought the adapter, and then later the PS2 Slim that had it included. I mean, free is always good, right?
Yeah, I actually upgraded to the Slim once that came out. I bought the Slim right away, or fairly soon at least, just because it was built in and just looked better.
Yeah, I mean PS2 was where I kind of started out too. I got the network adapter, and I remember playing a few games, but the one that really stood out to me, like when I first tried it, was Tony Hawk 3, I believe. It was one of the Tony Hawk games there, and that was quite an experience too, you know, hopping online and seeing people everywhere. And it's the same type of thing with the leg. It was like, wow, sick trick, dude. You're like spinning in the air, like doing like a 2000 spin, you know, like, how you doing that? And then like I mean, for SOCOM, it makes sense that you have clans, right? Like that's such a team-based game anyway. But then like, that was like my first experience to be like, why do these guys have weird characters in brackets and stuff in their name? And, you know, like in Tony Hawk, it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't 3 the one where you could like take a crappy digital camera photo of your face and like email it to them and like have it in your created character?
Yeah, I don't remember which one that was, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. Yeah, it's funny because like I never went online with that, but you'd like think naturally that would have been one of the games that I gravitated towards. But I think on PS2, like I think it was like Twisted Metal Black I played the most, maybe. Because like when you bought the network adapter early on, you could like send in to get it for free, like the online version, and I did that. And I played a lot of that game.
I can say I had a really negative experience as well. That really actually kind of turned me off of console online gaming. My first bit was my friend picked up the Final Fantasy 11 with the hard drive.
Oh yeah, that's right. You needed the hard drive and the old fat model too, didn't you?
Yep. We were like super pumped about that. I mean, we're huge fans of Final Fantasy. That's the next one. Got to pick it up. Well, that was the MMO, you know, that was the first MMO. And it was like completely like backwards to what, you know, a traditional Final Fantasy was.
Sure.
I guess I just wasn't ready for that type of gameplay, and neither was he. He was pretty upset about it. So
you were expecting turn-based, and instead you got like kill 40 rats. And you're like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And you know, I know like that game is pretty, especially the early part of that game was just like really notorious for like how bad and how like bland it was for an MMO. And yeah, it got better over the years, I think. But
nice. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I back in the day, I don't know if I'm sure they don't still do this, but you could go on like PlayStation's website and like register your PlayStation like Underground and like the beta club, and you know, tell them what consoles you had and like put in to like get beta access. And like one of the ones they sent me to test was EverQuest Online for the PS2.
Oh yeah.
And I jumped into that, and like I had never played an MMO, like was just so fucking lost, and like it was so hard to play that and chat with people without a keyboard. And like I did find some like poor sap who like friended me and like guided me through like getting into the first few levels, and like he healed me while I like beat the shit out of like dozens and dozens of rats. But it was not a great experience, and like it was one that like I didn't enjoy, and I just remember thinking like, man, this is not for me. Like it almost kept me from playing World of Warcraft because like that first taste was not good.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's like ever since that day, I've just kind of always been like, maybe online gaming is just not for me. Like I've
Right.
even to this day, I still kind of have that where it's like things come up and it's like, yeah, this is just not the type of thing I want to play.
Yeah.
I have to reference this. You were big on that.
Huh?
You were our bag.
That was the bag?
Be aggressive
On what
Yeah.
game?
on EverQuest or
Yeah, EverQuest.
the one that you got for
Oh, EverQuest. Yeah, I was totally banned.
OG,
Yeah,
OG
you were
bag.
there.
Except they didn't go around like inviting everybody to. Want to be in our party? Hi. You have a pulse? Play.
Help me.
I'm gonna steal that. Is that okay? I don't care. Yeah, no, I was totally lost. Like, it was nice to like some guy to help me out, but like I think I only got the trial for like the first 2 months, and then it was I want to say it was like $9.99 a month to play EverQuest Online on the PS2, and I was just like, fuck that. Like, I'm totally done with that.
Didn't Final Fantasy have one like that too, or was that not on the
that was the
PS2?
11 like Andy was talking about. Like that was the big one that
Yeah.
I think everybody expected that to be just like this tidal wave of success, and it just kind of didn't work out, I guess.
It was middling and it stayed that way. I mean, there's still. I mean, I think it shut down now, but it went on for a long time. I think it went like one of the last games for 360. I think was a Final Fantasy 11 collection or something like that.
Yeah, it saw some revisions. Like I think it did pretty well overall, or it had its fan base. But well, then like another system we're missing out on listing here is the Dreamcast. That technically could have gone online, right, with its 56K modem.
Yeah.
Which I guess you could have upgraded to broadband, but did any of you guys take that online?
No, I mean, I
didn't have one.
knew somebody who had Phantasy Star, and I saw very little of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I plugged mine in and I would like surf the web like pitifully slowly. And that's about it. And then like I bought the Dreamcast late, and then I think like the last 6 months of SegaNet existing for it, they open it up. They're like, it's free to play any game you want. And like I would put in games and like there'd be nobody online. So I never did. I would remember sitting in queue for like Choo Choo Rocket for like an hour, and like nobody would match up. So like fuck that.
Huh.
So any other games that you guys remember, like memorable ones that you went online with earlier on?
Not really games, I guess, just more issues that I ran into. Did you have much issue on Xbox with leg switches and whatnot?
I mean, there was some of that for sure, but I don't think it was as prevalent as it was because like Microsoft was banning consoles and
Yeah, because it'd kick you out, right?
yeah, right. It would kick you
It
out.
would
Yeah.
disconnect you from live, wouldn't it, or something?
Yes, and then your console would be banned. Yep.
Yeah, because like PlayStation 2, it was awful. Like you'd be playing SOCOM, and you could easily tell it's a leg switch person because their person is just standing there moving back and forth, and then all of a sudden appear, cross map 4 seconds later because you had a 5-second limit. And,
Wow.
And like that took over, and to me, that was a huge step backwards in online gaming, I guess, just because of what that could cause and just issues with it. Granted, I made one and used it.
I was gonna say, I know you told me that before you get too far down this. Yeah.
But I
Can't beat it. Join them.
yeah, I didn't use it. Like I did a lot of competitive and game battles with a couple of the clans that had recruited me, and I didn't use it in any of those. It was just mainly in like the open lobbies when other people were. It's like, well, screw it, you're doing it, I'm going to. But it was more fun to get my friends with. Like, I had a lot of friends that started playing it, and one of them in specific is Dennis, one of the guys that I used to play quite a bit with, and I remember I was sitting around a corner and I leg switched and killed him, and he was so confused. He was sitting in the other room, so I could hear him. Just so confused about it. But
Nice.
just that whole situation, though, I feel was terrible about it. But
Well, I think the biggest one was like Halo 2, right? I mean,
Right.
it was such a huge thing hauling everybody's Xbox around to their friend's house and stuff, and then being able to play that online was, I mean, that had to have been probably one of the earliest, like, huge successes to that.
Yeah, and that was kind of where they'd iron out a lot of the kinks and like the jank of Xbox Live. Like, you know, you could easily track who was saying what, and like the lobbies and stuff. So that's, I mean, that was like one of my takeaways. Like, wow, this is really good. But one of the games I really loved early on before, and I speak of this because it was before they really like buttoned down Xbox Live, was Mech Assault. Which was like in the Mech Warrior series, I guess. It was like a spin-off. And I would say that that was like the first runaway hit on Xbox Live. I mean, just an awesome competitive game. Like, I played the hell out of it. Like, I don't mean to brag, but I'm going to anyway, because I'll never be this good at any game again. But like, I was ranked like 12th in the world in Team Last Man Standing in that game.
Wow.
And I mean, keep in mind, that was like, what, 10,000 people back then, so that's not a big achievement. And then the scoreboards reset monthly at the time, so you know, take it for what it's worth.
So you're saying I could go in and be the 12th?
I did this
highest
on
right
like
now?
the 5th day, not the first day, so I'm gonna give
Okay.
myself a little bit of credit. But one of the things I loved about it was, and I speak about this with like Xbox Live being a little janky and like not knowing who said what, because you would go into loading screens in between lobbies before the match would load, and it was just a blank screen, and it wouldn't pop up on the TV who was saying what. And I would just do the most horrendous shit, like Dumb and Dumber, most annoying sound in the world, like every time. I don't know why. I was like, I don't know, I was 20 years old. I thought it was hilarious, I guess, and I would just make these horrible sounds and like sing like weird songs and like crap from South Park. People are like, what the fuck is going on in this lobby? And then, you know, you immediately shut up once it places you into a match because they can see what you're saying or who's saying what. I don't know. But I don't know, that was really cool because like I had a lot, like, you know, Justin was saying, like I had a lot of friends, like a group of people that like every night we were Mech Assault, like all these people that I didn't know them, they're just random people, and we had a team, we'd go in and just like rape people, and I don't know, it was fun. Like Mech Assault was great, but I would agree with you that Halo 2 was like the first true like testament as to the power of Xbox, I guess, as a brand, and then just Xbox Live and like what that could bring to a game. Because Halo 2 on its own is not a great Halo game.
No.
I think it's, in fact, probably the worst Halo game. But what they did with the online component of that made it worth owning. And I put countless hours into that game. And I wasn't even that good at it. Like, that was like one of the things is like, Halo and SOCOM both had their hardcore dedicated fan base. And those people were all really, really good. And I was not one of those people, but I still enjoyed playing it. So, but unfortunately, you know, it would prompt on screen who was making weird fart noises in the middle of loading screen, so I had to knock that shenanigans off. And knock it down a point or two there.
one of the best things too, later on in PlayStation 2's life, they came up with that like cheat code disc or whatever.
Oh yeah, the Game Shark thing, yeah.
Yeah, Game Shark. There you go. So SOCOM 2 was in there, and it gave. There was a couple of them where it's like double health or like basically God mode, and that at first wasn't detected, so people would go in and like just stand in the middle of the map, not doing anything, and you'd walk up and just like start shooting them, just to realize that they're cheating. You're not gonna win. Take the death.
That's awesome.
I suppose most of that stuff was like all client side, right? So it was just using the internet and different between them.
Later on, they must have figured a way to detect it, because when I finally got a Game Shark, I was like, I'm going to do this. Yes. I get banned.
Really? Huh.
It's like a 48-hour ban. It's like, oh, never again.
You know what's funny too is like I kind of forgot about this until we got into the topic was so I don't know what the difference was between the PlayStation modem and the Xbox Live, but like I had both of them in my living room, right? And we had a router that split the Ethernet lines. So it went to the router and then split out to both systems, but for whatever reason I couldn't use PlayStation 2 online through the router, which was like super annoying and why I didn't use it as much because I had to pull it into a different room to use it. And I remember calling up the PlayStation like service people, right? And I'm like, I don't get this. Like, I don't know why it's not working. He's like, well, do you have it hooked up through a router? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but I also have my Xbox hooked up and that works just fine. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why is your thing not working, right? And then I got this poor tech guy. He's on the line with me for like half an hour. He's like, well, okay. It's like, what you need to do is you need to call up your ISP provider. And by this point, like, I'm 20. Like, I'm zoned out. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm over this. I'm like, fuck it. I'm never going to play it. It's fine. He's like, what you need to do is you need to have them open up like this blah, blah, blah. This port, like 101 through like 110. He's like, can you repeat that back to me? He's like, you write it down? I'm like, yeah, whatever. I wrote it down. I didn't write anything down. He's like, can you repeat that back to me? I'm like, 102 through like 11. He's like, no, that's like 900 lines. Just like screaming at me, just so pissed that he's wasted like half an hour and I'm not paying attention. And I never called anybody. I just like, nope, I'm done. But like I had this guy just like screaming pissed at me. It was great.
That was actually one major issue with PlayStation 2 for where I grew up. The internet provider, you couldn't connect to anything, so you had to port forward everything,
right?
And have to call them and have them do that.
Yeah.
Xbox even had some issues too, so you had to call them all the time for that stuff.
Well, that's worth noting too, right? Because like we're all upper Midwestern people, and this is like 2000 to 2003, 2004 we're talking about. And if you live in like major metropolitan areas or like coastal areas where the infrastructure was there, you might think this is weird that we're having those problems. But during that time frame, like it was not even commonplace to have broadband internet.
No, I just got off 56K at that point.
Right. Yeah. And my hometown, in fact, didn't even have the option to purchase a broadband internet until about 2002. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, and there weren't a lot of people doing it, so we talk about it like it's like this is like some kind of amazing revelation, which it kind of was, but it was also like a very niche thing because like most people didn't realize you could do it because they didn't have broadband, and I mean, I know a lot of people that had no idea you could take the PlayStation 2 online or the Xbox. I mean, they had just no clue that was an option.
Right. I mean, we should have interviewed somebody who like brought their Sega Genesis online or something like that.
Right. Yes. SegaNet did not, or what was that thing called? It didn't make it up to our area.
The Sega
Network,
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sega Network, but there was like that third party thing too, the X-Band or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a cartridge modem or whatever.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that like this was an infancy stage for the industry as far as online gaming, and then we all lived in areas where it was marginally technically possible to even do this. It's kind of weird to think about, it wasn't that long ago, and it was a struggle.
It was honestly a pain to get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first got it, like I spent probably a good 4 hours just trying to get it set up to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to create accounts for everything.
And you were always one of the guys with like the worst ping, like every time. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Even on the best day, your ping sucked compared to everybody else's. Which honestly sometimes was an advantage because you can jump around and fucking ninja people. Who needs a leg switch? Your ping's 800.
Yeah.
It's called my ISP.
The leg switch wasn't until I moved to Forks.
Yeah.
But then I had good internet. So.
Well, I remember like, because I went home for the summer the first year after I got an Xbox Live, and I remember playing with all my friends on Mech Assault, and I'm explaining like, well, I won't be able to play with you guys because I'm moving home for the summer. They're like, yeah? So? I'm like, no, you don't understand. There's no broadband internet at home. I'm like, I'm going to be gone for a while, guys. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait till my kids are older so I can, because I still have my leg switch. They'll be like, "What is this?"
They'll be like, you had to connect a cord to go on the internet? How old are you?
Right?
Yeah. No, it was an interesting era in gaming, and it's crazy to think like how much it's changed the landscape of our hobby, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, just like some really memorable experiences I'm sure we all had with just like random online moments. And
I mean, somewhere right now there's a person sitting on hacked together server of Phantasy Star Online on their Dreamcast. Like,
yeah,
that's still happening.
And that's still amazing that somebody invented a doohickey to connect your Dreamcast to your PC so you can still play that. Like, that's awesome. That's great. People are doing that. Well, and then do you guys even remember like so the GameCube never really went online outside of the final or the Phantasy Star games, but they had that broadband adapter. And do you guys remember Project Warp Pipe, where somebody built like a portal to allow you to play Mario Kart Double Dash through your PC on the GameCube?
Really? Huh.
Yeah. It was really cool. Like, it's crazy that people went to those links back then to like do stuff like that.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that is kind of the plus sign of those early days where a lot of it was just straight up peer to peer.
Yeah.
So it's easy to kind of hack that together through a PC because all you're doing is connecting each other, you know? You're just basically doing the networking of it. So that part's kind of cool.
It's also worth noting that like it probably happened to a lesser extent in the PS2 because it didn't have the hard drive built in, but original Xbox Live on the Xbox DLC, yeah, that was free. Like developers just gave you more game because they were awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to buy a season pass. I got like 10 new maps for Mech Assault free of charge. Like, man, I miss those days. Halo 2 map packs free. Now we're getting sued over loot boxes. How much times have changed?